What's going on? Boys, an additional standalone update on what's happening in case you don't keep up with the Order Development series, plus some extra information and some additional discussion, both practical and spiritual. So I have I have a web of acquaintances, but I have a few acquaintances I didn't realize are as good acquaintances as they are. Further evidence that even though most people are going to stab you in the back, even when you help them, some people, when you help them, are inclined to help you in turn. Pleasant surprise. Now, the original update was some kids did it. It was supposed to be an untargeted prank, but some details didn't line up, and while I could plausibly see kids being responsible for this, that almost certainly wasn't the entire story. And as it turns out, it isn't. I still don't have, or haven't worked out, the full story, but I have additional details. I received one plausible explanation of how they possibly bypassed one set of keys. And it was something I never would have thought of. That still doesn't explain how they got through the first set of keys, and why nobody seems to know how or when it happened. Either they came in when people were there, and some people know and just aren't saying anything, or they broke in over the weekend, needing still that first set of keys, in other words. So something isn't adding up there. And now I'm hearing it was targeted, but was nothing more than a joke in bad taste. And allegedly, the Mormons were involved. Allegedly, wealthy kids from a Mormon family. Geez, that really narrows it down. Now, I know the psychopath is involved in Mormon money, even though he tries to hide it, which I still haven't worked all that out, but that's a bit of information I've been sitting on for a while now. But at the same time, that Skimmerlit is a Satanist thing has been making the rounds, and when it comes to bad-mouthing, you never know how much something has spread, but I knew that it had spread, and I guess I should have assumed it was worse than I thought it was. So, to my mind, we have one of three options here. Or I guess 6 if you are counting the method of entry as a diverging point. Did they get keys and break in when nobody was there? Or did they do it while people were there, but the people who know aren't saying anything? And I should mention I was out of the office for a couple days because one of my family members got pretty sick, and nobody would be in my area at that time. Either way, some fuckery is going on. And frankly, they might not be kids. Maybe I'm just being fed shit information, but I have a feeling they were. Call it instinct. So that leads us into the 3 options that I can think of. Option 1. Psychopath is involved somehow. He's very sneaky and underhanded, and I know he used to be in politics before this. Option 2. Mormons are just doing what they do naturally. I don't know if I mentioned this, but one of my acquaintances a while back was a very serious Catholic gaining some traction locally. And he got threatened and followed by Mormons with guns enough that he left. He moved. He's done. and I don't blame him. That's why I freaked out so much. I thought for sure that was exactly what was going on. Dumb Mormons being dumb Mormons, looking for excuses to hate and hurt. And I can completely understand and appreciate hating. Everybody hates somebody. But I don't subscribe to to violence like that. It's ridiculous. In fact, when I first got out here, I heard a nasty ass joke I thought was too harsh and learned it is the case. There's a reason a large number of people feel like that about Mormons. Why does the South have one group of people and the North have Mormons? Because the South got to choose first. And when this sort of person hates Mormons more than they hate this other group of people, that's odd for someone outside. But I'm beginning to get why. So, spiteful dummy starts saying I'm a Satanist because I was reading tarot cards, and now they have justification to act violently. Or option 3. Is it an unrelated group that just really doesn't like me? And there are a number of those. Someone mentioned that guy I mentioned a few videos ago, but I have a feeling it wasn't him. He and I had a funny moment, a classic bit a while ago that maybe I'll talk about in a video at some point. But I think we understand each other well enough that he wouldn't do anything. Or if he were to do something, he wouldn't have done it like this. Regardless, the something like this is never going to happen again narrative, that doesn't seem to be shaking between investigative sources. Again, nothing is being done officially, but I am seeing unofficial stuff happening already. Just pieces moving on the board. I think they think I don't notice. There's some shuffling going on. Now, I don't know why or to what end, but I have a feeling I'm okay for now, but I shouldn't let my guard down. Mainly because if these were just rich Mormon kids playing a prank, why not try to do something spiteful in a different way? Why a death threat, and one that visceral? Maybe they are stupid kids, but I've never met them, so that sentiment, that violent sentiment, came from somewhere. So in terms of an update, I think things are fine for now. Details are still not adding up, especially considering people are moving around. People who, for all intents and purposes, if this were just a hee-hee funny silly thing, wouldn't be moving around. I think part of it is not everyone realized I was carrying. But that leads us into the second part of the video. A light, practical discussion on carrying. In my opinion, if you elect to carry a handgun concealed, you should probably work around the idea of carrying first and concealing second. Or in other words, don't make the mistake I made when I got really scared and bought my first concealed carry gun. It is a Ruger EC9S, or in other words, the Pussy 9, for a number of reasons. It's the worst, it's the biggest piece of dog shit. I think it's an actual Fed gun. It has to be. It is so awful. I picked it up because I wanted something that was super concealable. And this was the one that was within my budget at the time, and got glowing reviews seemingly from everybody. And another thing I've learned is if everyone loves something, there's it's probably not that great. Or it might even be malicious. It's probably malicious. The Ruger feels malicious, and not toward the people it's supposed to be defending me from. You can't charge it while the safety is on. You can't move the slide at all while the safety is on. Putting it into battery is so unintuitive. I've never heard of another handgun operating the way this one does. You can't just pull the slide back and let it go, or press the charging lever, or whatever it's called, to put it into battery. You have to hold down the charging handle, or not charging handle, it's a little itty bitty button that your finger is going to slip off of, and pull the slide back both at the same time to put it into battery. And that slide, by the way, is a world of things that are tight, both heterosexual and homosexual, just flashed before my eyes. But it is tighter than all of them. The chamber is exposed, so if you're carrying it in your pocket as a, that's what you're supposed to do with a pocket pistol, you're gonna get shit in there. The first time I shot it, 50 bullets, I had 3 traditional stovepipe type jams, whatever they're called, and I had 4 or 5 weird things I've never seen before. The bullets just wouldn't fire. And after ejecting them and loading them up and shooting them again at the last time, then they fired. But that happened 4 or 5 times. So, let's say 7 or 8 failures total out of 50. Unreliability mixed with difficult ease of use, it's gonna get you killed. I don't have any recommendations for concealed or compact, subcompact 9mm handguns, pocket pistols, but I don't recommend the Ruger EC9S, and frankly, I don't recommend little guns to begin with. If you're going to carry, then you should commit to something you would be willing to bet your life on, because that's what you're doing. These weapons are for self-defense, but I think back to the goals of the beloved, the GOAT, Mark 23. A handgun designed as a primary offensive tool. Your carry isn't your fallback, probably. We'll get into that. This is your everything. And in my opinion, if you are going to carry, then you should pick something that can be your everything, and then figure out all the rest later. So I carry a USP 45 Elite, and I'm considering putting a match weight on it, because while it shoots 45 auto like butter, 45 Super is a lot snappier than I thought it was going to be. I mean, recoil for a long time scared me, especially when I got my PTR, but when I shot my PTR, I think I talked about it, it doesn't hurt. It feels like being rocked gently in a hammock by a cornate bloodletter. Ah, peaceful. 45 Super caught my ass lacking. Caught me off guard. Not terribly so, not unmanageably so, but a little bit snappier than I was expecting. And I think a match weight would make this all even better. But the reason I selected a USP 45 Elite, there are a number of reasons. It can shoot 45 Super out of the box. I think the technical term is long slide, but I don't see HK use that term. But it is a long barrel, full-sized handgun. Concealing something like that is a little bit difficult. Carrying it is a little bit difficult. But I chose this one and decided to work around everything else because, in addition to sharing genetics with the Mark 23, this thing is bomb proof. It's the smoothest shooting of the USP 45s. And this one in particular handles 45 Super better than the others. I mean, you can shoot 45 Super, as far as I know, out of any of the USP 45s, but this one takes that ball and runs with it. This is not a subcompact, last ditch self defense handgun. It is filling a self defense role, but this is something designed for offense. And when your life is in danger, that's the sort of thing you want. And I know I don't have to say this, but of all the 45 and 45 Super I have put through my Elite, I have not had one failure of any sort. Not one. One of the other reasons I chose it, I mentioned aesthetics are important to me. I have no money, I like nice shit. I was very seriously considering going with a Jericho 941, but I decided against it for a few reasons. Although I still probably am going to buy one at some point, because that thing is sick. I want to be my own character, but doing shit unnecessarily to try to stand out makes you look douchey. If you can figure out how to stand out while being religiously devoted to function, I've found you stand out in a good way. I don't have any real issue with 9. I mean, it is concerning. That 3 shots and still standing thing. My father was a firefighter for a long time, emergency medical services, and according to him, there were a few instances people would get hit with 9 hollow points multiple times and not go down immediately. One guy, the specific story I referenced, got shot 3 times and was alive long enough to run about a mile before dropping dead. I would prefer something a little bit meaner. At least in a handgun. If you're going with a pistol caliber carbine, that's a completely, well, not a completely different story. You can get nice pistol caliber carbines in 10mm and 40, but pistol caliber carbine 9, fine. The Jericho seems to be infamous because people who like guns but don't like anime recognize it as the anime gun. I don't want to be the dipshit who seems like he bought a gun because he wants to be like Spike. Even though I wouldn't be entirely opposed to that, Spike is pretty cool. And for some reason, although the Jericho has a degree of infamy, I keep hearing that's one of the smoothest shooting full-size 9s out there. Now, maybe that's more bullshit, and I guess I'm gonna find out one day. But for now, I went with my USP because it stands out without being douchey. It is a conversation starter, and the range is a nice place to make acquaintances who maybe later on will help you out with something. A number of sources, but the 2 realest ones. I go in about 15 to 45 minutes early to work every day, so I can make coffee and have my coffee in peace. And during that time, sometimes little birds fly in. Not to call them little birds, but it's nice on a cold morning to have some coffee and pleasant conversation for a few minutes where nobody is going to bother you. Because technically, although you can be there, you don't really need to be there. It's a nice little getaway, and I like creating that for people. One of them carries a shockwave in his truck. The other carries a full-ass AR in his truck. you never know where a conversation starter or a first impression, good first impression, a way to stand out that doesn't make you look like a shithead, might take you. And then, on a very neurodivergent level, I like the way my USP looks like the space shuttle if you turn it upside down. It has this weird post-80s retrofuturism look to it, if you understand what I'm saying. That realistic futurism from a time past. It's aesthetically just beautiful. In addition to being one of the most functional handguns on the market, and very expensive, feels nice to flex even though you don't have any grounds to. And when you put a match weight on it, it looks like RoboCop's Auto 9. All this to say, if you're going to carry, then select something that is at the height of functionality, and in my opinion, something you're going to like personally. Something that functions and has a form you like, because then you're going to pay more attention to it and learn more in the process. The vibes are going to be better. And then work around all the rest. That said, if SOA ever develops formal armaments, if we ever get that far, what I'm thinking is the sub 2000 in 40. Or maybe by then they'll have something in 10mm. That thing is just wacky, in the best way. Light, concealable, high capacity, actually very accurate, more accurate than you would expect it to be. And now that they have Gen 3s, optics aren't even a hyper expensive problem. Now, the other reason I brought up practical carry is in the wake of everything that has been going on. I say has been going on like it's been going on for a while. It's been 2 days. Because I don't know what's going on, we've established the 45 is better than the Fed 9. But what is better than the 45? The 45 and the Fed 9. My thoughts here being, I'm not going to run around dual wielding. If something were to go down or to start going down with people nearby, then I could, in theory, charge it, the 9, and give it to someone. You don't even really need to know how to shoot. All you have to do is put that laser on the bad guy and pull the trigger. And this thing, despite people say it's snappy, I don't really feel it's snappy. Maybe it would feel snappy to a woman, but it wouldn't be so snappy that a woman, even untrained, wouldn't be able to manage it. So if something goes wrong, here, you aren't defenseless, use this. And the thing, people say, you only have 2 hands. You're right, I do only have 2 hands, but you also have 2 hands. And if something's going on, just take this. Just take it. You don't even really need to know how to use it well. Just put the laser on them. That's all you have to do. And I'm thinking this way because my gut is telling me it probably was just kids. And I am probably, for now, fine enough. But my gut is also telling me something weird is going on. Well, I don't need my gut to tell me that. I have eyes. Something weird is going on. And because I don't know exactly what's going on in places I can't see or don't know about, I don't know what's going to happen for sure, and I need to be ready for that. Even more ready than I was. And this is where we get into the spiritual side of things. What the hell happened spiritually? I scale back on carrying because of peer pressure. I have a dream about being unarmed and getting into a you're gonna die now, stupid, you weren't armed situation. So I arm again, and then shortly after, this happens. Death threat. Maybe it was some kids, probably was some kids. But I didn't know that. The note read, "Run, you're dead, we see you." It doesn't even sound silly in hindsight. That's threatening. That's horrifying. And without knowing everything else that is going on, I thought I was dead. I thought I was about to die. And the fact I didn't, and the fact I feel like I can relax a little bit for right now, makes me wonder why this moment happened in this way. What was the point of showing me that heart drop feeling? Well, part of me thinks this is further preparation, a more serious preparation, priming. That dream told me I can't afford to be unarmed. Was this moment giving me a real life taste of something I might feel later? I called it a dry run as a joke the first time, but was this an actual dry run? This is how you're going to feel. This is how long you're going to freeze, stand there frozen for. This is how your hands are going to shake. This is how you're going to zone out. Because I didn't mention it initially or in the initial update, but there was a weird span of about 5 minutes after I realized my area was clear and I locked up our doors that I was zoned out. I didn't know what to do. Was this intended to show me what I am going to do wrong, or would do wrong, but can now work on? Now that I've had as real a wake-up call as I can without that actually happening. I made coffee. After I cleared the rooms and locked the doors, I put on a pot of coffee before I realized that I probably should call the cops right now. And then, in addition to that, was this also to get me more acquainted with the idea of dying? Because I don't think anyone can truly be 100% ready. No matter what they've seen, no matter what preparation they've put in, dying is... It's everything. I don't think any amount of preparation or experience can get you ready completely for death. But I'm sitting on the idea I wasn't afraid the way I thought I would be. Now again, I was in a weird place mentally, but there wasn't that fear. It was when thinking about or confronted with the idea of you might die right now, they might be in here with you. Alright. It's like going into a gas station bathroom. You really don't want to do it. You know it isn't going to be fun, but you're prepared and you need to. I don't know what to make of that yet. And I ended up speaking with my mother about it and Slim about it separately. And discussing these sorts of feelings is weird, a lot weirder than it should be, because sometimes you forget how intense people get about religion. We've had a weird influx of dogma Christians on the channel recently, and while I don't like them, I appreciate their reminding me not to get too chummy with standard religious types. Don't get me wrong, I like my Christian mystics. I like my Islamic mystics. We have a surprisingly large Middle Eastern or Arab, I don't know what you would call that zone. We have a lot of you guys on our channel, and some of you have a lot of interesting stuff to say, in the same way as Christian mystics. But don't get too comfortable discussing spirituality with people just because they are religious, because odds are they are not open minded religious. They are not spirit searcher religious. They are subservient, obedient, aggressive, dogma religious. Anyway, my mother is somewhere between atheist and agnostic, and she surprised me with her views on death. I am her son. Her views are a lot more similar to mine than I thought they were going to be. She said she's almost ready to die, in almost the exact same way I explained it a while ago. Getting ready to go on a big trip. In her words, if there's nothing, then whatever. But if there is something, then she would like to meet Cleopatra and Genghis Khan and Hannibal. Which is surprising because it sounds similar to the way I've been feeling about death. Or dying, rather. It seems like our views of the afterlife, if there is one, or if there is something, are a bit different. But the dying process and feeling ready to die, like it's a step, not an end, was surprising. And comforting, because I didn't prime that answer. So maybe there is something to it. Even in people who aren't explicitly religiously or spiritually searching. And then Slim, who came back to town, was talking with me about his experiences with Taoism. And I think the reason he is able to remain as cool as a cucumber, usually, is the fact that he is pretty far along the right-hand path. He's into dissolution of self. He is into letting go, not sweating it. And he's been studying this for like 30 years, because while I don't have details, his experience in the draft and then further experiences in the military after he transferred, left him in a very bad spot mentally, and he had to twist the military's arm to get them even to acknowledge that something was wrong, and then when they did, all they wanted to do was give him medicine, which he didn't want, but he needed to figure something out because he couldn't go on like that, and that is how/when he found Taoism. He recommended me some books I'm going to look into, and maybe he can serve as an alternate spirit guide once we have more of a shared vocabulary. Like I said last time, I think we are firmly on the left-hand path, the drop swallowing the ocean, but it would be interesting to hear more from a ocean swallowing the drop person once I have the vocabulary or faculties to understand it better. Was what happened a dry run of spiritual armor? Or rather, an affirmation that spiritual work does in fact translate to material capability? Because while I did kind of go somewhere else after I had secured the area and locked everything up and was as safe as I thought I could be, when I got the note and my heart dropped, I froze, but not for long. Like a couple seconds maybe. I mean, it felt like a lot longer, but it wasn't that long. I think this event going the way it did and then turning out the way it has wasn't on accident. I don't believe all this was chance. I feel almost certain this was, in fact, like a tornado siren test run without the knowledge it is a test, which is the best sort of test. I'm also pretty sure it's priming for something else that might happen later. And I am going, God willing, to trust my psionic antennas. I think it's a. I feel like it's antennae. It might be antennas. My psionic antennas to let me know when it's time to get ready for the next thing. And then I feel certain that it has something to do with the emotional and spiritual aspect of death, but I haven't worked out what it all means yet. And I'm sure there are other spiritual implications in all this that I'm going to have to work out later, but this is what I have for now. And I'm not going to do a summary this time because my chest feels really tight. Take care of yourself, stay on the path. But that about rippity wraps this one up. I hope you enjoyed watching, because I certainly enjoyed making it. I don't feel dread right now, I just feel very tense. Like if you enjoyed, because it helps me out a lot. Subscribe if you haven't, because we do this shit sometimes. And comment your thoughts, because I love hearing from you. What are your thoughts on spiritual implications of events or chance? Be interested to hear. But thanks again for watching, everybody. Really a lot of fun on this channel. So much fun, in fact, it can be designed by a Fed to fail when you need it, and then your stupid ass can buy it because the really friendly gun YouTubers, the really smart ones, say this is the one to go with. It's stupid. And that's so much we have on this channel, and I look forward to doing this with you guys again in the future.